The rain fell across the empty valley of Virel-9 in slow, cold sheets. Dark clouds pressed low against the jagged mountains, and the wind pushed through the tall black grass like a restless ocean. The planet had no cities and no colonies. Only stone hills, deep valleys, and strange wildlife that moved in the shadows. Elias Carter stepped out of his small human shuttle and pulled his jacket tighter around his body. A scanner blinked softly on his wrist. The signal it showed was weak but still active. A distress beacon. Someone out there was still alive. Elias adjusted the strap of his supply pack and began walking toward the blinking signal. His boots sank into the wet ground as he moved through the tall grass. He had done this many times before. Human rescue pilots traveled alone across the edges of explored space. They answered distress calls that most people ignored. Sometimes they arrived too late. Sometimes they arrived just in time. The scanner beeped again. Closer, now. Elias climbed over a ridge of dark rock and stopped when he saw the wreck. A small alien transport pod lay broken against the base of the hill. One side had been torn open during the crash. Pieces of metal were scattered across the muddy ground and thin smoke drifted from the damaged engine. Someone had survived. Elias moved quickly toward the wreck. Then he saw her. The alien woman lay beside the shattered pod. Her skin had a faint blue glow beneath the rain, and long silver hair spread across the wet ground. She looked fragile and still, but her leg was twisted badly. The lower part bent in a way that leg should never bend. Blood had soaked into the mud around her ankle. Elias dropped to one knee beside her. "Hey," he said quietly. Her eyes slowly opened. Large silver eyes stared up at him with confusion and fear. "You are not my people," she whispered weakly. "No," Elias said. "I am human." She tried to move, but pain rushed through her body and she gasped. "Do not move," Elias said calmly. "Your leg is broken." He opened his pack and pulled out a portable medical scanner. The small device passed over her body with a soft humming sound. The results appeared on the screen. One fractured leg, bruised ribs, minor internal injuries. She was lucky to be alive. "I am going to fix the leg," Elias said gently. "It will hurt, but it will help you walk later." The alien woman breathed slowly as rain slid down her face. Then she gave a weak nod. "Do it." Elias pulled a splint and stabilizing foam from his pack. He placed his hands carefully around the injured leg. Just as he began to straighten the bone, her hand suddenly grabbed his jacket. Her fingers clutched the fabric tightly. Her eyes locked onto his face. "Do not let go," she whispered. The fear in her voice was deeper than the pain. It was the fear of being alone. Elias paused for a moment and looked at her. Then he nodded. "I am right here," he said quietly. "I am not going anywhere." Her grip tightened around the jacket. Slowly, Elias aligned the bone. The alien woman cried out as the bone shifted back into place, but she did not release him. A faint crack sounded as the fracture moved into proper position. "Good," Elias said softly. "Almost done." He secured the splint around her leg and injected a pain stabilizer into her arm. Her breathing gradually slowed, but her hand still held his jacket. "You can let go now," Elias said gently. She shook her head weakly. "Please stay," Elias sighed quietly. "All right," he said. For several minutes the rain continued falling around them. The valley was silent except for the wind and the slow rhythm of her breathing. Then Elias heard something, a low growl. He slowly turned his head. Shapes were moving through the fog at the far side of the valley. 3 massive creatures stepped into view. Predators, native hunters of Virel-9. Their bodies were large and muscular with thick armored skin. Their jaws were wide and filled with rows of curved teeth. They had smelled blood. The alien woman saw them too. Her eyes widened with fear. "Hunters," she whispered. "They will kill us." Elias slowly stood up. Her hand still gripped his jacket. "Hard to fight monsters while someone is holding my coat," he said quietly. But she did not release him. "Please do not leave," she said. Elias looked down at her, frightened face. Then he looked at the approaching beasts. He reached into his pack and pulled out a plasma cutter. It was a tool meant for slicing metal during repairs. But it could also cut through flesh. The blade ignited with a bright blue glow. The predators began to circle slowly. Low growls rolled across the valley. The first creature lunged forward. Elias stepped toward it. The plasma blade flashed through the rain and sliced across the predator jaw. The creature screamed as the burning cut tore through its armor. It collapsed heavily into the mud. The second predator rushed him from the side. Elias turned quickly and swung the blade again. The glowing edge burned deep into its neck, and the creature fell beside the first. The third predator stopped. It watched Elias. Carefully, rain dripped from its teeth as it circled slowly behind him. The alien woman spoke in a trembling voice. "Why are you protecting me?" Elias did not look back. "Because you asked me not to let go." The final predator suddenly charged. Elias moved forward to meet it. The blue blade cut through the air with precise strength. The creature roared once, before collapsing into the mud. Silence returned to the valley. Only rain and wind remained. Elias turned off the plasma cutter and walked back to the alien woman. He knelt beside her again. "Well," he said calmly, "that was unpleasant." Her eyes were wide with shock. "You fought them alone?" Elias shrugged. "Slightly. Humans are stubborn." She looked down at her hand, which was still holding his jacket. Then she looked back at him. "You stayed, of course." She studied his face quietly. "What is your name?" "Human, Elias Carter." "My name is Lyra," she said softly. "Nice to meet you, Lyra." Elias carefully lifted her into his arms. She was light but warm. Her injured leg remained secure inside the splint. Her arms wrapped weakly around his shoulders as he carried her across the valley. The rain had begun to fade, and the clouds were slowly breaking. Across the field, his small shuttle waited with soft lights glowing through the mist. Lyra rested, her head against his shoulder. "I thought I would die here," she whispered. "Not today," Elias replied. "You humans are strange," she said quietly. "Why? Because you protect strangers like they are family." Elias thought about that as he walked. "Maybe because we know what it feels like to be alone." They reached the shuttle, and the hatch opened with a soft, mechanical sound. Warm air flowed out into the cold valley. Inside the shuttle, Elias gently placed Lyra on the medical bed. The onboard scanner moved across her body and analyzed the damage. Soft lights blinked across the control panel. Fracture stable, internal, injuries manageable, recovery possible. Elias smiled with relief. "Good news," he said. "You will walk again." Lyra looked at him with quiet gratitude. "Because you did not let go." Outside, the rain finally stopped and a thin beam of sunlight touched the valley floor. A signal appeared on the shuttle radar. An incoming ship, Lyra. Rescue team had found her signal. She looked at Elias again. "You could have left me in the rain," she said, "but you stayed." Elias leaned casually against the wall. Humans are not very good at leaving people behind. A bright alien rescue ship slowly descended through the clouds outside. Lyra watched the human standing beside. Her stories will spread about this, she said softly. Stories about humans. Stories about the man who stood in the rain and refused to walk away. Elias smiled slightly. It all started with a broken leg, cold rain falling across a silent valley, and one quiet, desperate whisper, "Do not let go, asterisk."